Hey, how's it going? Welcome in. Welcome to Arma Reforger 1.3 Experimental, where today we're just going to be going over some of the new things that are coming in the upcoming update, and just going to give you a bit of a showcase. So we've got the two mortars that were added. This is one of the big ones that a lot of people are excited for. We've got the two different mortars that were added, the Russian and the US equivalent. And I'm going to show you how to use them here. So you've got different prompts. You've got the aim, where you can lock on and you can aim down the sights, and you've got all your different bearings, and you've got your mill range. And nicely enough, it does actually show the range on the right side. But what you can do as well is at these mortar emplacements, there's a small arsenal here where you can get your mortar shells, and there's also a ballistics manual, kind of like a cheat sheet, that when you bring it up with this cheat sheet, it will show you all the details that you need to know for different shells. You got the range, like it'll tell you that, you know, elevation at 1531 will be 400 meters. It'll tell you its flight time. If you hold R, you can inspect it, and that's how you change different shell types, and you can also see the different details for the amount of rings that you have on the mortar shells. I'm going to show you that now, what they mean by the different rings. So if we get ourselves a couple of mortar shells here, you'll see that on the shell, on the base of it, there are these yellow rings here at the bottom. So if we inspect the mortar shell, we can change the amount of rings that are on there. And what these are very highly flammable rings, and what they do is they increase the pressure inside of the tube to affect how far the mortars are going to go. So if we look back in the optic, we can see on the right hand side that we're at 4 rings, and if we press V to change how many rings are on the shell, we will see that with 0 rings at this exact setup, we're good for about 250 meters, but with 4 rings on a mortar shell, that was 1600 meters. So the range changes depending on how many rings that you have on the mortar. So if we go to 0 here, put it to the minimum range just so we can show you guys the mortars here. So 0 rings at 1550 mils at 85.2 degrees, that's going to go 50 meters. So it's going to go off on that grass bank in front of us. That's where it's going to land. However, if it had 4 rings on it, this would go 500 meters. So what we got to do to make sure it goes 50 meters is get our mortar shell, inspect it, and make sure that it does have no rings on it. And it saves this preset as well, so every new mortar I take after this will have 0 rings. It will only, like, the rings will only apply when you manually change it like this. So when you go and take some new ones from the box, you don't have to worry about doing this every single time. So you get the mortar in your hand, and you look at the end of the barrel, and then that's how you fire it. Click F, and in it goes. There's also different types of mortars as well. So we've got fragmentation shells, we have illuminations, and we have smokes, and we do have dummy training shells as well. Alright, so what I'm going to try and do is try to line up these mortars to try and hit the lighthouse on the south side of the island over here. See how close I can get. We'll try with some normal mortars, and then we'll try with some smokes, and then we will do the illumination as well. We'll do the illumination at night time. So, if we line up the 0 with our current position, we should be able to see here that around 177 is going to be our bearing. And the other thing we need is the range. So if remember 177. If we range this as well, each one of these main grids is 1 kilometer. So this is roughly about 60 meters. About 60 meters down. So if we go 1 kilometer and then 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers is about here. So it's just under 1800. Just under 1800 meters. It's about 1770. There or thereabouts. See how close we can get. So 176 on the bearing. 178 on the bearing. Up at the top, we got to line up to 178. And let's change this to high explosive. Let's range this down. About 1760. So let's go in between 1700 and 1800. And let's see how close we can get that. I've also ranged that for 3 rings on the mortars. So let's grab some high explosives. Change it to 3 rings. Fire. As that goes off, let's head over to the lighthouse and see how close we get. Not too far off. Not too far off, honestly. So, with smokes, the range is going to be different. So, smokes, 4 rings. It was about 1760, so we want to be on about 1175. Let's go 1170, because I was a little bit short. So, let's grab ourselves some smokes, and we had it set to 4 rings. Alright, let's fire all 4. Let's see where we go. Beautiful. Right on target. Alright, now let's see if we can light up the bay with the illumination ones. Alright, so I've brought in some cloud cover and I've made it nighttime now for this one. And it was 4 rings on this one as well. So the illumination ones also have a fuse time as well. So you can set a manual fuse time, but I've just got it set automatic. So you can have them go off earlier if you want to. There we go. Oh, nice. You got like sparks and stuff falling down from it too. I do have the global brighter mode on as well. We've set it to the darker mode. You can see it really does light up the area. Another thing they added was these mortar containers as well. So in my backpack normally, I could carry 7 mortars plus 1 in my hand. However, with the container, I can carry 3 per container, but it barely takes up any of my backpack space. Yeah, here we can see I've hit my weight capacity. I've hit my maximum weight capacity, and the backpack's only at half capacity now. And we are carrying 9 mortars in the containers and 1 in hand. Also added was the ability for game masters to call in mortar barrages. They can select individual mortar shells or massive large barrages like this. Pairing these barrages with some illumination flares at night leads to some insane scenes. So next up we've got destruction. All buildings now in Arma Reforger are destructible. Now I've tried with RPGs and rockets. I can't get it to work with RPGs or anti-tank weapons. The best way I've seen, the only way I've been able to take out buildings so far is with helicopters and landmines. Alright, so we've got an anti-tank mine placed inside. Gonna set it off with a rifle round here, and then we'll see if it brings down the building. So as you can see, it's not dynamic damage. The walls don't get taken down individually, like you would in like Battlefield or anything like that. But it's currently just fully destructible buildings. So buildings seem to have a health pool. Once their health pool diminishes from items that can destroy it, it then takes a ruined state. The building slowly comes down and it will have a ruined state for the rest of the game. I'm not sure if all buildings are destructible, so I found the biggest one that I could nearby, which was this aircraft hangar, and we'll see if this one goes down. Yep, this goes down too. With a lot of screen shake as well. Oh my god. Oh my god. That might be a bit excessive. Next up, I'd like to see what happens if you are inside a building that gets destroyed. So we're going to bring this down, this building down with a bunch of civilians inside and see what happens. Alright, we have a mine in position. It's on the corner of the building there. All the civilians are on the opposite side of the building, so hopefully it's not the mine that takes out the civilians. It's the building coming down. So let's see what happens. Yep, all the civilians inside were killed instantly. Buildings aren't the only thing on the destruction system as well. Trees can now be destroyed also. I think some tweaking does need to be done with the trees, because it does feel like sometimes they go down a little bit too easily. And they don't do any damage to your vehicle at all unless you're hitting them at speed. 2 new vehicles were added in the form of the LEV-25 and the BDRM-2 Recon Vehicles. Unfortunately, no functional periscopes yet. However, they did add a new feature for the hatches. You can press Z on your keyboard, and you can open up the hatch, and holding Z will toggle between having your head in and out of the hatch. So, of course, if you're a first-person player, this is how you're going to have to drive. And with the hatch closed, you're going to have to get directed by your commander in the commander seat. The LAV has 2 different weapons. One being a 308 machine gun, and secondly a 30mm cannon, both with AP rounds and high explosive. The ability to resupply was also added. If you pull up alongside a repair truck, you can resupply both the belt ammunition and the cannons. Alongside the driver, commander and gunner, there's also 4 passenger seats in the back, and a storage space full of essentials for resupplying an infantry unit. Here we are with the BRDM, a very similar functioning vehicle. This one also has the hatches at the top, but you can't use it to poke your head out of the top. In the BRDM, you instead have hatches at the front with like blast shields that you can open and close. So for the BRDM, you can see where you're going from a much more relative safety compared to the LAV. Another nice feature is that with this optic, the searchlight is completely operable by the commander seat. It does have a 7.62 PKM and a much bigger 14x5 machine gun. Whilst perhaps not their core function, both the LEV-25 and the BRDM are fully amphibious. Next up we have new helicopters. Both the AHF-1 and the Mi-8 got new civilian variants, along with new gunship variants, capable of firing rockets controlled by the pilot. Most notable change for the pilot is you have a collimator sight that can be brought down and deployed, and also adjusted for different ranges, along with a chart to help you range. To fire the rockets, you use your bind that's assigned to firing turrets, and in my limited testings, the rockets are very, very capable at taking down buildings. If used correctly, these units will be absolutely devastating in flushing out enemies from cover. The UH-1H has 2 rocket pods, each containing 7 rockets each, with a total of 14 rockets. The Mi-8 having a whopping 6 pods with 16 rockets in each, making up for a total of a whopping 96 rockets. The rockets on the Mi-8, however, do function very differently. They can only fire in salvos of 24 rockets, meaning you only get 4 shots. The Mi-8 also comes with sight elevation changes. However, alongside that, it also comes with a toggleable iron sight and sun filter. Also added was a new function for helipads. Once a helicopter has been landed, alongside refuel and repairs, rockets can also be resupplied. That was it for the main part of the video, but let's quick fire through a bunch of changes and additions also made to the game. Barbed wire now hurts you, and you can no longer vault or climb anything whilst in barbed wire. It won't do huge damage, but it will give you lots of bleeds. Armor vests are now physicalized and have physically accurate hitboxes.
What? I'm hit.
Crewman overalls have been added for both the US and the Soviet forces. The UAZ-452 has received multiple variants in the form of cargo, transport, FIA and civilian. Vehicle gunner positions have received a polish pass on their get in and get out animations. Factions now have different protractors respective to their map kits. Both the RPG and the lore now have backblast. A new in-hand inventory slot was added, so that when your inventory is full, the next item will go to your hand. Field hospitals now come equipped with medical arsenals with all the essentials. And finally, cargo trucks with canvases now have a separate texture for their supplies. There's a ton more changes, fixes and additions, but I'll leave them all in the patch notes below in the description, so feel free to check them out. That's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please consider dropping a like and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.